Hello and welcome to Rise of Humanity Personal Development for the Spiritual Warrior. This is Chris Karamaya and I'm joined by my guest, Elli Yokochi. Am I saying that right?
A good job. Yes, that was it.
And today we will be doing somewhat of an impromptu podcast episode as I had some totally awesome last minute scheduling issues earlier today. And so me and Ellie literally just connecting here at the last minute. We're going to go with the flow, have a great conversation. I usually spend hours preparing for my guests, so this is a completely new experience for me. So Ellie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So I'd say I've been looking at your Instagram. I can see you are big on health and fitness, and there's loads of cool pictures of the awesome yoga poses. So let's just start with that. What's the story with the yoga?
Oh, gosh. I started practicing, I guess now it'd be about 17 years ago. I was about 20, but kind of just once a week kind of thing. And then I deepened my practice when I was kind of in the healing process with lots of brain injuries, like multiple concussions and all of that. And I'm sure we'll get into that more later, but that's when I deepened my practice. I couldn't really do the normal exercise that I used to do. My former life was an exercise physiologist, so I was always super active and I was an athlete. And with my head injury issues, I had zero energy and I just couldn't exercise or do anything. And that's really when even all of my, I would say, kind of spiritual process started, at least in this lifetime, but that's when I deepened my meditation practice and then kind of had to figure out for myself physically what I could do, and just started doing these exercises just for kind of just to build my energy back up. And I could do very little, but I kind of developed almost my own yoga practice because I wasn't able to even go to a class. Even an easy class was like way too much for me, and I had to kind of develop my own little routine that would help me. So there was years of that, kind of building up my own, and then as I kind of healed myself and felt better, then deepened my practice. And was able to go back to regular vinyasa classes and more vigorous classes. And then that's when I finally did a teacher training. I guess it was about 3 years ago now that I did my vinyasa teacher training. So that's the yoga story. Yeah, I know. That's awesome. On Instagram, it's like yoga's kind of a big thing.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great platform to share yoga on. So just going back to the you talked about the brain injuries, and I think you had it was adrenal fatigue as well. Could you just kind of go into that story and what that was all about? Obviously, it must have been a big challenge for you.
Gosh, yeah, sometimes it can be difficult to go back and talk about that stuff. It was just such a process. But when my head injury stuff began, I guess actually I was in college. I was a collegiate cheerleader, and my first concussion, I was 19. So I was a sophomore in college, and that was my first one. And then I ended up having, and that was probably the most serious one, I guess. But I was fine. I kind of recovered and everything. And then I had 4 more later on in college still, as I was a cheerleader, and kind of, recovered fine from those as well. And then my first job out of graduate school. I was about 26 or so, and got a concussion just while I was at work. Just hit the back of my head on a big pole of a treadmill. Got another concussion, and then I think it was about a week later, got another one just from demonstrating some like plyometric type of exercises. So just like apparently I wasn't really fully healed yet, and you just become more sensitive. So anyway, a week later had another one, and then 2 weeks after that, driving home from work, hit like a big pothole, had another concussion. And so it was at that time that I had, so about 26, working. I was like a program director at a place called a high intensity training centers. And so that's the time I had about 6 months of pretty severe post-concussion syndrome. And that's like the first I really even knew about it. And that's when I kind of started reading stuff and finding out that was even a thing, the post-concussion syndrome. I knew about second impact syndrome, which is when you get a concussion when you're not healed from the first one, and how you can die with that. And I'm sure people know about that from watching football, and there's a lot more awareness now with concussions and head injuries due to a lot of these professional athletes. But it's actually a thing in cheerleading as well, and all kinds of sports. But so anyway, had about 6 months at that time of pretty bad post-concussion syndrome, and actually eventually had to just like quit my job. I moved, and that's when I moved to Virginia. I was in Ohio at that other job. I moved. That's when I started doing acupuncture. It's kind of one of those things where, you go to the doctor, you go to the hospital, and kind of Western or conventional medicine doesn't really have anything to actually help you. They'll just tell you to rest and all that, but they don't know what to do, or don't really give you anything that helps you heal faster or feel better. And so that's what got me into kind of all of the energy healing and acupuncture and all kinds of alternative stuff. So to kind of go more into that story, so after the 6 months, I kind of healed, and every once in a while was more sensitive to concussions. So every once in a while, might bump my head somehow and maybe feel bad for a week or two or something like that, but nothing too serious. And then a few years later, I think it was about 29, and that's kind of when it was the worst of it. That's when I was just at a concert or something. Somebody bumped me on the head. I got a concussion. And then after that, it was like kind of just little things kept, little jars on my head or bumping my head. And I kind of never fully recovered. And then it just kept getting worse and worse. And then finally I had these like strange little like seizure type of episodes. So not the grand mal type, but where it was something, and that's the best way I can describe it, like a seizure, and where then I would sleep for like, I don't know, hours and hours and hours, and was so sensitive. I couldn't like go to a grocery store. I was so fatigued. I couldn't, I could basically just kind of lay around the house and then do all of my, do healing appointments, and that's it. And that's kind of when the adrenal fatigue, it was kind of all together, the head injury and the adrenal fatigue. And then, and that's when it was kind of this long process back. I'd say it was about 5 years or so of really like building my energy back up, and of kind of doing all the healing I could do.
Can I just ask?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious. At the time that all these kind of injuries were happening, was there any like huge like, why does this keep happening? Did you kind of think there was some sort of pattern or some like weird synchronicity, or did you just feel like it was bad luck at the time?
I mean, I think everything is I kind of seen everything as in life as synchronicity, right? Or having
Yeah.
a purpose. And once you're kind of on that path, you're just more aware of it. And your whole life is like, you realize how it's just orchestrated and guided by whoever in your higher self. So, yeah. So I was always on that, and I kind of wouldn't take, I was going to do whatever I could do to heal. And so I do think it was totally just part of my purpose and meant to be, and help me kind of remember who I really was, which I think that's any healing process is kind of letting go of our ego self and kind of who we think we are and what we're supposed to do in life, and kind of remembering our kind of bigger multidimensional self,
Yeah. So did you have spiritual tendencies during this whole process, or was this something that kind of awoke you to spirituality?
I did. I mean, I had it deepened it and made me like super dedicated to it, where I'd meditate every single day and read kind of all I read for years and years were like all the metaphysical books, right? And healing, like, I'd read a ton of Chopra, all the Barbara Brennan books, and then all the channeled type of books like the Seth books or Cryon, or, and so it deepened that. I would say, I'd say I started reading, I was probably like in college or something, and I would pick up like a Dalai Lama book, or, I had definitely read like Thich Nhat Hanh and Dalai Lama and stuff like that, but it just kind of like deepened my practice and kind of forced me to be super dedicated, I guess. Yeah.
Awesome. So was there like a turning point or an epiphany moment where maybe you turned more into the energy healing or healed yourself, or is it just has it been like a very just gradual process up to today, really?
Gosh, I guess at some point during it, and then I just knew, it's like you just know you're a healer, supposed to be a healer, like you're this channel, or feel this calling, I guess. So yeah, and then kind of the universe just lined up, and I started doing started a energy healing training, and that was in Charlottesville, and did 2 years of that, and then continued to do shaman training, and so it's just and it's always a continual process,
Yeah. So so obviously you've got a healing practice now. I saw on your website that you use the phrase soulmate clients. Is that, can you just talk about what that means?
I'm so glad you asked me that. I just have this philosophy. I mean, I think anyone that works kind of one-on-one with people or with clients in any profession, it's like, those people that you're really helping them, and it's energizing. And then we also know those people that we work with, and it's like not quite aligned, and maybe it's draining. And so I'd say for several years, I'm very intentional about being clear for myself who my soulmate clients are. And even when I was still working as an exercise physiologist and doing personal training and all of that, I was kind of aware, and I would kind of intentionally just attract my soulmate clients. And then certainly now too, in the last few years and building up my energy healing practice, the more people I work with, it's like you get more and more clear of who you feel like you're really able to help the most. And some, because, you know, I think that we're all, gosh, how do I describe it? You know, everyone's meant to work with different people. And yeah, so soulmate client, and one, you know, I think that, and I think I also say in there how, you know, we kind of have a contract before this lifetime that we're supposed to work together, and just, and you know, I think certain people kind of have a shared purpose, or have a shared soul purpose, and there's people that you just jive with and align with. So I kind of make it clear to myself who those people are, and kind of intentionally, like, even just whether it's just energetically kind of put out that call of like, I'm going to attract, you know, those, my soulmate clients. And it's so cool because then they kind of show up,
Yeah.
you know, and whatever I say resonates with them. So I do my best to kind of just be authentic, whether it's in like, in my social media. I'm still totally like blown away that you just randomly found me with a hashtag. And honestly, cause I'm just like, who am I? I mean, you have like, you know, real authors on here, and I'm just super humbled. It felt like the universe was telling me, like, okay, just do this, you know. But this, my small little ego self is just like, I haven't done anything. Who am I? And I can't believe you're asking me to be on this show. To be honest with you,
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's great. No, it just feels like it's keeping it real to me. Like, you don't have to go for what they term the big fish. I just think anyone who's got something to say, and especially a story of yours and the work you do, I think is just completely real for me. So I'm just every bit as grateful as you are to have you on the show.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so grateful to connect with you. It's so cool.
Yes, I appreciate it. So, going back to the point you were just making, I just wanted to say that I think, especially with coaches or maybe people who are thinking about becoming a coach, you really have a lot of power over who you work with. Like, I was talking to someone a few weeks ago, and they were saying, because I'm planning on becoming a coach in the future, and they were saying, oh yeah, but you have to work with all these people that just moan about life, and
no, you don't
deal with that. And I'm like, well, no, actually, I can qualify.
You can work with whoever you want, absolutely. And it's totally a heart thing. It's like, you know, you want to kind of attract them from that place and talk to their higher self almost, you know, even like in your marketing. I'm super interested in that too. That's one thing that interests me, is like business from this more aligned view. Yeah. So I'd love to chat more with you about that sometime too, or like just stay connected with you as you're like building your coaching business. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. There's definitely a movement happening in business. I mean, it's not a perfect system, but I recently came across this idea of conscious capitalism. I don't know if you've heard of that. And it's there's a few books been written on it, but basically it's basically building a holistic corporate business and putting huge emphasis on quality services and products, and spending massively less amounts on marketing and stuff like that, because you know that putting your message out will get the right people and returning clients as well.
Conscious capitalism.
Yeah, definitely check that out. There's a few books on it. I'd probably aim to look into it. I'll probably read one someday, but yeah, definitely vibing on that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll look into those.
Could you just give us some kind of information or detail about the kind of energy healing you do? Because I know there's lots of different ways to do it. Some people use muscle testing, that kind of thing, or I mean,
Yeah.
what's your style of energy healing?
So the types of techniques I'm trained in are the Barbara Brennan healing science techniques. So if some of your listeners might know the books Hands of Light and Light Emerging. She just put out a new book. I think it's called Core Light Healing. I just got that the other day. She just put it out. It's the first book that's been out in quite a while. Barbara Brennan started the energy healing schools. There were 3 of them. I don't know if they're all still. There was one in Japan, one in Europe, and then the main one was in Miami. So she has like a 4-year program. And my teachers in Charlottesville, and they are at Healing Heart Space, and still run trainings. They were trained in that, and that's just kind of the technique. I feel super connected with Barbara Brennan, and just aligned to those techniques. And people ask me, is it Reiki? Because now Reiki is pretty well known, which I think is amazing. That it's kind of a normal, I don't know, more mainstream thing that people know about. And so it is similar. It's not Reiki. Those are attunements. I've had other initiations and all of that, but not Reiki. But it is similar. And I think all healing is similar in that the main thing, if you're really truly a healer, is you're just a channel. And and once you commit to it, it's just your commitment to do what you can do for your self-healing, and kind of raising your vibration more and more, clearing yourself more and more, so that you're super clear channel of energy, of that light, of love, of the information you're picking up. It's like you're different. It's like little you gets out of the way, and then like bigger you kind of comes in, or not even you, but like your guides and the person's guides and their and all of that, and just the divine light that's available. And that's really what it's about. But the Barbara Brennan techniques are, they're kind of more in depth, I would say, her techniques, and with working with like all of the levels of the field and the grid layers, with the Hara line or with the core star, but it's really, and even anyone who's graduated from that school or even is trained in the same technique. I mean, people that I did my healers training with, I would say we all probably have our own way and different techniques, and it's about being tapped into, your way of doing it, and it's all about just your super clear intention and alignment. So it's just this like continual process of doing my best to keep myself aligned, Yeah. Hopefully
Awesome.
that helps, or help kind of answer something.
Yeah. Do you find, just in general, the work of healing others heals you, like raises your own vibration by helping others? Do you find that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It does. And it's funny because I also teach yoga, and I kind of see, and I think once you're a healer, you see yourself, or if you're or light worker, I guess is like a common word that people use now. Yeah. But it's just when you're conscious of that, then you're kind of just in that mode all the time. And I mean that in the most like humble way possible, right? Which is just in that mode all the time. So even if I'm teaching a yoga class, even if I'm going and teaching a yoga class, like that's a healing experience too. And I want to be in that mode where I'm channeling and setting the space. But back to your point, is it healing? So some days it's like the days that you feel like you are no place to teach, or like, whether it's like you have emotional crap going on, and you're just like, oh my gosh. And I realize if I'm super real about it, and think about what I need, and then almost channel that. And I'll theme on, exactly what's going on with me. And it's like people always super resonate with that. And like I said, and I'll just kind of realize what I need, channel that, and then it's like I feel so much better. And then
Yeah.
and then when you're just honest and you show up as you are and not try to fake it, and that's when you teach the more authentic class. And yeah, it's definitely healing to heal people. Plus you know if you're on your purpose, then that's healing. And I think that also we want to give what we want to receive, right? So yeah, we all need yeah, all need healing and all that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, even on a kind of small level, I notice that if I'm having a day where I'm feeling like stressful or anxious or something, just going into the kitchen and helping someone with the dishes or something, even that, it helps you just to get out of your head and kind of get into the real world. I find obviously that's just such a small level, but even something like that makes a big difference to my energy, that I found anyway.
Yeah, I agree. Like not focusing on yourself and just focus on someone else a little while. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. You've got a on your website. There's a Rumi quote: "The wound is the place where the light enters you." Is that essentially the is that what energy healing's about? Would you say?
Well, I think it's an opportunity. Yeah. Any of our wounds, and it's showing us something. It's there for a purpose and showing us something that's not aligned or gives you that opportunity for light.
Cool. So I've got a few questions that I a couple of questions that I ask my guests at the end of the show. The first one is, what would be your best tip for the spiritual warrior looking to improve themselves today?
Don't take yourself so seriously. And sometimes light workers, and I know me, we can it can almost be stressful feeling like, oh, we're always having to be on or be doing our self-care work. Sometimes even the self-care work can be stressful, and so I think it's super important to remember to play and to open space and to be not take this like, because life, like our physical life, right, and incarnating into this like crazy world can be intense and like stressful and cause a lot of suffering. And so just I think remembering that it's like this learning space, but also that it's like super cool and fun and sensual, and we're supposed to play and and that's really what raises our vibration even more, and opens up our creativity and our life force, and like letting it be more joyous.
Yeah, that's great advice. And the second question is, what would be your best advice for the spiritual warrior looking to contribute to the rise of humanity?
Do your work, meaning, so I just said play and do your work, meaning do your shadow work and take responsibility for what you see in the world, whether it's in the collective with what's out there. Take responsibility inside of yourself, and what is that showing you, about what you're not looking at, or your shadow. And don't be scared to feel your emotions, and that's enlightenment. It's bringing light to our shadow. Yeah.
Wonderful. So where can we find out more about you?
Well, I guess my website, just bemagicwithelli.com. So now that makes me nervous. Like, oh my gosh, I better go like update my website. Yeah.
I'm quite impressed.
And definitely, on my Instagram, I'll have at bemagicwithelli and ELLI with no E on the end. Those are probably the best.
ELLI.
Yeah. No E. Yeah.
Awesome.
Those are the best ways. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely put those in the show notes for people to check out.
Thank you.
So, I really, really appreciate you coming on here at the last minute and recording this episode with me.
I appreciate you. That was like, got me out of my comfort zone. But you made it. You're good. You made it easy. It was like, and it was super fun. So I'd be happy to do it anytime.
Awesome.
Anytime, yeah.
So, well, that is it for today then, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hope you've enjoyed this episode, and be sure to check out Elli's website and her Instagram because it's totally awesome. So until next time, thank you very much then. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.